Let's get down to discussing group reliefs in corporate tax. Again, a frequently tested topic in the ATX exam. Now, for understanding how group reliefs work, the first category of reliefs that we'll be looking at is for loss relief. So there has to be a parent company which owns greater than 75% of the share capital of other companies, and if there is one holding company which holds say 75% of another company, and then this company holds 80% of C limited, the question is, are A, B and C in a loss relief group? Okay. Indirect interests are also included when you are trying to direct and indirect interests are also included when it comes to loss relief group. So एवरी स्टेज पे आपका होल्डिंग 75% होना चाहिए. ठीक है. एज इन नेट indirect holding should also be 75%. Okay. So companies are in a loss relief group when the parent owns greater than or equal to 75% of the ordinary share capital or distributable profit or net assets, and holding effective holding also has to be more than 75%. If the effective holding is less than 75%, then it is not considered to be a part of the loss relief group. Okay. And a company can be in more than one loss relief groups at the same time. But in case of a capital gains group, it is a company, uska 75% subsidiary plus uska 75% subsidiary. In case of gains group, indirect holding ka percentage need not be more than 75%. It has to be more than 50%. Okay. Now, once you have identified that, you will realize that if companies are in a loss relief group, then one company can surrender its losses to another company in the same group. Okay. The surrendering company can surrender current period trading losses, NTLR deficit, excess QCD, excess management expenses, excess property losses, and excess non-trading losses. ठीक है. अब can surrender brought forward trading losses, NTLR deficit, management expenses of a company with investment business, property losses, and non-trading losses, to the extent that the surrendering company is unable to use the loss against its own total profits. Although there is no requirement for the surrendering company to relieve a brought forward loss against its own profit first. ठीक है. ग्रुप रिलीफ में क्या होता है? From the current year amounts, a company can surrender its trading losses, NTLR deficit, no upper limit, but बाकी के items में only the excess amount can be surrendered. Excess QCD, excess management expenses of a company, excess property losses, and excess non-trading IFA losses. ठीक है. अब claimant company can offset the surrendered loss against its TTP. It cannot carry backward the group relief, मतलब ना कैरी बैकवर्ड ना कैरी फॉरवर्ड. जो भी एडजस्ट करना है वो करंट ईयर में ही एडजस्ट करना है. ठीक है. द क्लेमेंट कंपनी कैन ओनली क्लेम सफिशिएंट लॉसेस टू रिड्यूस इट्स टीटीपी टू निल. ठीक है. एक बार ये बैकग्राउंड पढ़ो तो अच्छे से. रीड दिस इंफॉर्मेशन. आई एम स्क्रोलिंग डाउन. ओके. नाउ, कोई भी लॉस कैनॉट बी एडजस्टेड अगेंस्ट एनी गेन और against profits of other company. Losses surrendered by group relief must be set against the claimant company's profits of a corresponding accounting period. And what is a corresponding accounting period? It is any accounting period falling wholly or partly within the surrendering company's accounting period. Where the companies do not have coterminous year ends, the available profits or losses must be time apportioned to find the relevant amount falling. ठीक है. दो क्वेश्चन मैं आपको पढ़ने लगाऊंगा. यू विल अंडरस्टैंड द कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग अकाउंटिंग पीरियड वाला कॉन्सेप्ट. अब मैक्सिमम लॉस दैट कैन बी सरेंडर्ड इज लोअर ऑफ लॉस loss in the surrendering company for the corresponding period versus taxable profit in the claimant company for the corresponding accounting period. ठीक है, एक बार read this question and then read the two solutions for that. Once you have finished reading the question, tell me, I'll scroll down. Chalo, I'll show you the solution. Look at part A first, then part B. ठीक है, बी वाला देख लो. Okay. If there is a change in group structure, there are several areas to consider for a company joining the group also, for a company leaving the group also. A corresponding accounting period begins when a company joins a group, and it may be necessary to time a portion available losses and profits for the overlapping period as covered in section 2. Losses arising in a subsidiary before it joins a group are not available for surrender to companies within the new group for 5 years. So, if you have incurred a loss before joining the group, then the company joining the group cannot surrender the loss it incurred before that joining date with the other companies in the group for a period of 5 years. If a company is leaving the group relief ceases to be available once arrangements are in place to sell the shares of a company. This will usually occur sometime before the actual legal sale of the shares. HMRC considers that arrangements come into existence once there is an agreement in place. But एक बार you start making arrangements to leave the group, then the loss relief is not available. ये वही constructive obligation वाले point जैसा लगता है मुझे. ठीक है. What is a consortium? A consortium is a situation like this, where there are two or more companies. Together, they own more than 75%. Individually, no one owns more than 75%. Individually, no one owns less than 5%. ऐसा वाला जो structure है, that is called as a कंसोर्शियम. अब कंसोर्शियम में लॉस एडजस्टमेंट इज इवन मोर रिस्ट्रिक्टेड. ठीक है. सी लिमिटेड इज कॉल्ड एज द कंसोर्शियम कंपनी. ए लिमिटेड एंड बी लिमिटेड आर कॉल्ड कंसोर्शियम मेंबर्स. ठीक है. What is the effect of being in a consortium? Losses can be surrendered upwards also. They can be surrendered downwards also. मतलब C can surrender its losses to A and B. A and B can surrender their losses to C. But the maximum consortium loss available for surrender is the lower of the result of the consortium member, the consortium member's percentage entitlement to the results of the consortium company. ठीक है. और A and B cannot exchange losses between them. But A and B can surrender their losses to C. C can surrender its losses to A and B. ठीक है. ये समझने के लिए have a quick look at question 7. ये सिचुएशन देखो, उसका रिलेटेड सॉल्यूशन देखो. ठीक है. Just have a look at the first situation and how the loss adjustment was done. ठीक है, look at case B. ठीक है, चलो। अब कैपिटल गेन्स ग्रुप में क्या होता है? कैपिटल गेन्स ग्रुप में यू डोंट ट्रांसफर कैपिटल गेन और लॉस. व्हाट यू ट्रांसफर इज, you transfer the so one group company transfers the asset to another group company in a no gain no loss transfer. So say for example, I was going to dispose of a capital asset and I expected to have a gain. Harsh had already incurred a capital loss. Now we did not want Satyamet to pay the tax when there was unused capital loss with Harsh. तो मैं क्या करूंगा उस केस में? What we will do is, we will transfer. So I was going to sell the asset to an outsider. I will transfer the asset to Harsh. It will be a no gain no loss transfer. Harsh will sell it to the outsider. उसको जो भी gain आएगा, that gain will be adjusted against his capital loss. ठीक है. Okay. Transfer of assets between group companies is a no gain, no loss transfer. When you dispose the assets outside the group, that is when the capital gain or loss will be applicable. ठीक है. Uh, Structures and buildings allowance. If an asset on which SBAs have been claimed is transferred within a gains group, the transferor does not need to add SBA's claim to its disposal proceeds. The receiving company is treated as if it always owned the asset and will claim SBAs based on the original cost. मतलब जो SBA का regular treatment है वैसे ही यहाँ पे भी होगा. One critical adjustment here is the degrouping charge, which by the way never actually applies because of the substantial shareholding exemption. The company leaving the group is deemed to have sold and repurchased any assets acquired from other group members at their market value on the date of the intra-group transfer. Basically, आपको क्या करना है? You have to calculate something known as the degrouping charge. Basically, what that means is proceeds, which is the market value at the date of intra-group transfer, less cost to the group, less indexation to the date of intra-group transfer, और दिसंबर 2017 if earlier, ये जो भी डी ग्रुपिंग चार्ज आएगा, that डी ग्रुपिंग चार्ज will get added to the consideration. So if I am selling shares in one of my group companies, so in that particular case the de grouping charge will apply, because when Satyamed Limited sold some capital asset to Harsh Limited, at that time there was no, at that time because of the substantial shareholding exemption, या sorry, because of the no gain no loss transfer, मुझे कोई कैपिटल गेन टैक्स लगा नहीं था. There was no capital gains tax levied on me because Harsh Limited was a member of my capital gains group. Now I am selling off my holding in Harsh Limited. तो क्या होगा? The holding in Harsh Limited that I am selling off, that will be my disposal proceeds. To that disposal proceeds, I will add the degrouping charge, which is why my amount of gain at the time of disposal will be more. Okay. But the situation that happens in most cases is that this degrouping charge doesn't apply. Why doesn't the degrouping charge apply? Because of the substantial shareholding exemption, and thank God for that. अपना life will be easier that way. एक calculation कम होगा. ठीक है, एक बार देखो तो how does the degrouping charge work?
सर लेकिन अगर 75% ग्रुप कंपनी है तो फिर एसएससी अप्लाई कैसे नहीं होगा?
एसएससी के लिए 12 मंथ्स भी तो चाहिए ना, 12 मंथ्स इन अ 6 मंथ पीरियड. व्हाट इफ इट इज अ
हाँ हाँ सर।
सब्सिडियरी अक्वायर्ड विथ एन इंटेंशन टू रीसेल? वो पागलपन किसी को करना होगा तो लाइफ में. अगर बेचना ही है तो खरीदा क्यों? इज समटाइम्स नाउ आई फील दैट वे. बट ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर अदर रीजंस टू डू दैट. Just because I am with the sleep deprived doesn't mean that I should question decision making of companies. But genuinely, yeah, this is one thing I have never understood, or rather I have understood but I am still questioning it. कि तुम्हें
Sir,
बेच.
it makes sense. It makes sense because I've done transactions like this in India. It makes sense because of the 72A wala concept of the carry forward of loss. Like in UK taxation, it won't make sense because of all the provisions.
यार आई विश आई कुड डू यूके टैक्स प्रैक्टिकली. यार मेरा सिर्फ थियोरेटिकल नॉलेज है. आई विश आई हैड गॉटन द एक्सपोजर टू दैट इन द पास्ट. अभी नहीं करना है. अभी आई एम प्रिटी सॉर्टेड. अभी बस एसीसीए पढ़ाना है. नया कोर्स भी हाथ नहीं लगाना है. अब नहीं बचा मेरे में कुछ कैपेसिटी करने का. I was so dying to get into CA, but then I was like, nahi, nahi, nahi. That ship has sailed. Not getting into that. Okay. Restriction on companies joining a gains group, pre-entry capital losses. So before entering the group, you had incurred a capital loss. Okay. Before, and now what should you do with that capital loss? The rules on pre-entry capital losses are designed to prevent a group from purchasing a company in order to use its capital losses incurred in the period before it joins a group. So where a company joins a gains group, it must identify its capital losses at the point of entry. Pre-entry capital losses, see, they are not unrealized losses, but pre-entry capital losses cannot be adjusted against gains made by the other companies in the group. Is there a time limit, by the way, till which you can do this? कि कैसा है कोई रिस्ट्रिक्शन? आई हैवंट स्क्रॉल डाउन ऑल द वे डाउनवर्ड्स. है कोई
So
रिस्ट्रिक्शन?
5 years का है ना restriction?
5 साल के बाद यू कैन एडजस्ट. ओके. लास्ट थिंग, ट्रांसफर ऑफ ट्रेड. Special reliefs apply when a company sells its trade and assets to another company that is under 75% control. Transfers between gain group members will meet this condition, as will transfers between companies with the same shareholder. ठीक है. A PLC B Limited C Limited में 75-75% है. The same person or persons must have owned at least 75% of the trade at some time within 1 year before the transfer of the trade, and at any time within 2 years after that transfer. Normally, when the trade and assets of a company are transferred to another company, any losses remain with the original company and assets are transferred at market value. Therefore, balancing adjustments arise. Sale of assets, sale of trade and assets without changes in ownership. Special rule applies. If there are trading losses, they can be transferred with the trade, can be used against future profits. Capital allowances, assets will be transferred at TWDV. No balancing allowance, balancing charge, no FIA, AIA. Isn't this exactly like what happens in case of individuals? Same adjustment individuals भी करते हैं, same adjustment companies में भी है. But again, that is a special election that you will have to make. And अदरवाइज तो आपको अगर पूरे इस पे कैपिटल गेन लगवाना है तो लगवा दो, नो बडी इज स्टॉपिंग यू। इफ यू वांट टू जंप ऑफ अ क्लिफ, HMRC विल नॉट स्टॉप यू। सो दैट्स द प्राइमरी आइडिया। ओके, why would people want to get a gain? It could happen where they have other losses which they want to adjust, because those other losses they will have a problem carrying them forward. तो इसको टैक्स लगवा दो, डोंट गो फॉर द स्पेशल रूल, उस लॉस को इधर एडजस्ट कर लो। Depends if that situation ever comes up in your tax computation. ठीक है।
So